It's almost 50 years since Sir Robin Knox-Johnston completed his pioneering non-stop solo circumnavigation of the world.
Day 312, about 3 on April the 22nd, and Robin Knox-Johnston and Sue Haley have sailed non-stop around the world.
Nearly 3 decades later, the Clipper race was born. Sir Robin's concept was clear: sailing the world's toughest oceans in a circumnavigation around the planet. But not for an elite few. These would be everyday people with a thirst for adventure.
You know, life is for that, to take risks, to follow your dreams.
Now in the 11th edition of the biennial race, 700 participants from all walks of life, representing over 40 nationalities, will take on the challenge of dealing with whatever Mother Nature has in store. Battling the elements out in the world's greatest oceans, they will experience some of the toughest conditions imaginable. From hurricane-force winds to squalls that can knock a boat flat. From stifling heat to sub-zero conditions and the danger of possible injury.
If you could imagine taking a cheese wire and almost cutting down that line.
They must learn to live with strangers, sailing 24 hours a day for weeks on end, all within the confines of a 70-foot yacht in the middle of an ocean. 40,000 miles, 13 races, 12 identical yachts, 6 continents, 1 unique challenge. This is the race of their lives. Coming up, a Coast Guard sailor receives a helping hand with her adventure from a rival crew.
In her words, me not doing round the world race was not an option.
The Clipper race crews are in Uruguay and celebrate a wonderful visit with a spectacular send-off. But the conditions on the race test everyone's limits. One crew suffers a dramatic and terrifying incident in the middle of the night. And there's a tragedy that affects everyone involved with the race. The Clipper race is a global series of 13 races between 6 continents over 11 months. Starting in England, the first race is a downwind roller coaster to Punta del Este, Uruguay. Race 2 takes on the South Atlantic to South Africa, and then it's the infamous Southern Ocean sleigh ride. The Australia leg is split into 3, from Fremantle, including the iconic Sydney-Hobart race, ending in Airlie Beach before heading to the city of Sanya in China for the first time. Then it's north to a wintry Qingdao before crossing the mighty Pacific Ocean to Seattle. The US coast-to-coast leg is 2 races via the Panama Canal up to New York. The final race leg sees the fleet cross the Atlantic Ocean to Northern Ireland, then the last race back to Liverpool. After a wonderful departure from the start in Liverpool, the Clipper race crews completed a roller coaster of a race, the longest in the history of the Clipper race at 6,300 nautical miles, all the way to Punta del Este in Uruguay. The Sanya Serenity coast crew took line honours. But it was the Greenies crew who were awarded first place overall after a time redress was deducted from their elapsed time. They had been forced to divert to Portugal due to a serious injury to their skipper, and so lost time as a result of a dramatic evacuation. The crew sailed the yacht onto Porto, where a temporary skipper joined them. And despite the disappointment at losing skipper Dave from the team until he recovers, they were elated to take first place. After such a long and exhausting race, all of the crews were ready for some rest and relaxation in the beautiful city of Punta del Este. The first time Clipper race hosts were keen to leave a lasting impression. For one of the crew on the Liverpool 2018 team, it was an extra special moment to finish the race, as his family and friends were waiting for him with a hero's welcome as he sailed into his hometown. Now rested ashore, he welcomes the entire crew to his family home for a traditional asado, a huge barbecue and party. His father, who is the mayor of Punta del Este, takes over the cooking as the team enjoy a warm welcome with this typical Uruguayan hospitality. And there are plenty of attractions for the visiting teams to enjoy, including the spectacular Casa Pueblo Art Museum, with its famous view of the sunset, perfect for rounding off the day in South America. Hosted by the Punta del Este Yacht Club, new crew arrive for the next leg of the Clipper race, joining the circumnavigators and their respective teams, as the Leg 1 crew depart after a fabulous experience they will never forget. Having flown in from around the world, Crew Changeover Day adds another element of excitement to the event.
I'm the race director, Mark.
All of the newcomers have completed the mandatory 4 weeks of training, but will have a day refresher course to remind them of the safety procedures, and there's huge anticipation as the crews reacquaint themselves and swap stories.
It's just been nice. I've bumped into people, caught up with my crew from Leg 1. Everyone's had, I think, a tough time, but a good time. Saw Dale. Yeah, I think everyone's really ready for Leg 2. So everyone, obviously, when they got in here a week ago, tired. Now they're just desperate to get on with it. I'm just looking forward to getting back on the boat, seeing all the guys again. My favourite bit is just being on the boat and just getting out there sailing. So, yeah, I feel pretty good. I mean, I can't wait to get to Cape Town, but I think the next 2.5 weeks will be great. And then once I get to Cape Town, I've never been there before, but everyone says it's amazing. But then I'll be looking forward to the Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean's the thing that I'm super excited about.
Returning to the Clipper race is a man on a mission, John Charles. He was a circumnavigator in the previous edition who was injured in race 1 last time and thus missed the South Atlantic crossing.
I broke my wrist!
Now he's back for Leg 2 to complete his entire circumnavigation.
You know, I've always wanted to be a round-the-world yachtsman, and after what happened on the last race, I obviously couldn't do Leg 2, and this now actually ticks the box for finishing off the whole circumnavigation, which I'm really looking forward to. As a young kid, I saw, you know, Sir Robin Knox-Johnson and things like this on telly, and my family have always been into the sailing and fishing industries and things like that. So I've always had it. For some reason, deep down inside, it's been one of those things that I've always wanted to do. And I was lucky enough to, like I say, start a few years ago and nearly get around. So this will now finish off the whole circumnavigation.
It's race start day, and after a wonderful time in Punta del Este, it's time to begin racing again.
Anyway, all ready. Good to see you.
In this 3,400 nautical mile race, the South Atlantic promises to be challenging across to Cape Town in South Africa in the Storm Hook race to the Cape of Storms. There are extra points available with both the scoring gate and the Elliott Brown Ocean Sprint. On a windy spring day, local spectators have turned out in their thousands to see the fleet depart. Charlie Garrett is on the Dare to Lead team heading to their home port of Cape Town and is looking forward to this next challenge.
Got a nice bit of wind, so for the new joiners, there's no rest, it's straight into it. And yeah, we'll probably be up on a hill and straight in, having fun. Last night was the nerves, apprehension, but the music's playing, everyone's here, we're all just getting stuck in and getting the last minute prep done before we leave, so I'm really excited for the buzz of leaving and waving goodbye to everyone.
And so the crews cast off their lines and prepare to leave South America for the next continent. There's a strong wind outside the harbour, gusting to 30 knots, and so all of the crews have reefed down their sails as they vie for the best position on the start line, marked between the harbour wall to a boat on the water. With the countdown to the start nearing completion, all 12 yachts begin their approach and make the start safely, heeling over on port tack, with the crew on the high side enjoying the action in the strong conditions. The course is set along the coast around the bay for spectators to see the yachts, meaning upwind conditions to begin with, which is testing the crews in these strong winds. It's a spectacular start, with the leeward decks often underwater in the gusts, leaving crew hanging on at over 45 degrees. After completing the short start course, the yachts bear away and head off towards the Atlantic Ocean, with Sanya's Serenity Coast and Grinnings leading the way as the crew of Dare to Lead settle into full racing mode. Coming up, crews are battered by the rough conditions and tested in the wild weather, but race on at full speed towards the finish in Cape Town in what proves to be a fast and exciting ocean crossing. The Clipper Round the World Yacht Race is a 40,000-mile adventure for amateur sailors over 11 months. Having completed the first race from the UK to Uruguay, the 12 teams enjoyed a wonderful stopover in Punta del Este and have begun the second leg to South Africa, the Storm Hook race to the Cape of Storms. Aboard Dare to Lead, there's excitement as the crew are vying for the lead in the rough conditions and making good speed. Circumnavigator Charlie Garrett has been sailing for many years and always dreamt of sailing around the world, but never thought she would be able to fulfill this ambition.
Before doing the race, my career was working for the UK Coast Guard and absolutely love my job. And my friends fully support me doing the race, and to make sure that I don't forget where I left from, they've created me a little mascot to take with me around the world. So they've got an RNLI lifeboat teddy bear, and one of my colleagues, Becca, destroyed sorry boss, destroyed her work shirt to get the Coast Guard emblem so that she could sew it onto the bear. So not only do I have a lifeboat mascot, but I've got a Coast Guard emblem as well, so it's double-edged sword so that hopefully I return back to working for them. I did level 1 with the team coordinator, Bill, on Garmin. I got talking to her and she found out that I was selling my house to do the race, and that would only give me about half the funds to sail around the world. And I was saving like crazy and trying to fundraise. Her team wanted to donate to her cause for the Clipper campaign, but she was able to finance it herself, so she kindly got her team to donate a day's wage to my campaign because, in her words, me not doing around the world race was not an option. It's amazing, actually, the friendships you make. Just from 5 days on a boat, you bond really well. And for me, to have someone do that for me, just, I didn't expect it. So it's been quite nice for the whole leading up to the race. Friends, family, you know, other supporters just willing to donate to just see me fulfill a wish that I've wanted to do for a little while now. I came into sailing petrified and thinking the boat was going to capsize and I'd drown. So I've made an incredible journey so far. So for me, it's just to really build on that. And the higher up ranks I go with sailing, it's to make sure I have more confidence. I'm quite intrigued as to see who I'll be when I step off in Liverpool, but I definitely will have a greater understanding of myself and other people. I just learn so much living in such a confined space with 20 other humans.
After less than a day of racing, news is received across the fleet that the crew of PSP Logistics has been forced to return to Uruguay after being hit by a whale. It has bent one of their 2 rudders. The damage is severe and will take several days to repair. Back on the water, Dare to Lead South African skipper is eager to get home as quickly as possible because he's taken a gamble in playing the team's joker. This will double their points, so the pressure's on for a podium finish.
I'm very proudly South African. I've spent most of my life there and absolutely love the country. And yeah, it's great to be sailing a boat with the South African flag on the back, and to be, especially on this leg, sailing into my home port, and all that's going to mean for me as on a personal level. I spend a lot of time away from my 3 little kids and my wife, so that really is the hardest part of my job. A lot of people can't understand why you'd want to make yourself suffer on a boat for so long, but the physical suffering's not really the same as just really missing home a lot of the time, and not even so much missing home, but just missing my kids. I spend huge periods of time away from home, and yeah, that really is the most challenging part of my job. And if it wasn't for an extremely understanding wife, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
6 days into the race, and the scoring gate looms, with the prospect of 3 bonus points available for the first team to cross the gate. But the conditions are proving testing, with big swells and cold weather. Reaching the scoring gate first, Chinese entry Qingdao takes maximum points for the second successive race, with Liverpool 2018 securing 2 points, and Visit Seattle the remaining point. But most of the teams opted not to alter course for the gate in order to stay focused on maximum race points. One of the crew on Dare to Lead is a young man whose life has been totally changed by the Clipper race. He was selected to sail a leg of the Clipper 2013-14 race as part of an initiative to open doors for young people from challenging backgrounds in South Africa.
The whole plan when I finished my race was to become a future Clipper skipper. So I did the courses and then stay with the school. So Dirk helped me to get a sort of internship for the sailing school down in Cape Town to just get more mileage sailing-wise, and also experience working with different people on the boat. So now that's completed, I'm going to apply for the 1920 and see how I go. But I think I need to be working for the Clipper first before I can actually apply, just to see how I feel working with the guys and if I'll be confident enough to actually take the boat across. I'm looking forward to being in Cape Town. Yeah, it'll be really awesome because I've also got a lot of guys that came down from Durban to see me come in Cape Town. So I'm not really sure what they've planned for me, but I'm sure there'll be a little celebration going on when I get to Cape Town.
Now over halfway, the race is still close, and the crew of Dare to Lead are enjoying the excitement of the battle, up with the leading group of 3 yachts.
So we've had some quite rough weather, and we've got a bit more heading. It's on our way. We got around 40 knots probably within the next 24 hours. It keeps the boats moving fast. It's a good thing that these boats are built for that. But it's hard work and a lot of sail changing and very, very wet on deck. So everyone's coming down below soaking wet after each watch. But otherwise all good, and we're on the downhill side of this leg now and really looking forward to Cape Town.
Meanwhile, the daily routine aboard continues, with regular watch changes, sleeping, cooking and eating. It's a tough but clearly rewarding experience for those taking part. Helming the 70-foot yacht in big seas demands total concentration, and changing sails in the rough weather takes its toll on everyone.
When the bigger swells, every time you dip down into a wave, the boat just really hoiks over on its side. So especially if you're on mother watch and you've got the hot kettle in your hand, you're pouring someone a cup of coffee, it's a balancing act and a whole body workout. Where a couple of times we've had the spinnaker up and we've been a bit too overpowered, so the boat really leans over, and it's just quick thinking in those conditions to make sure that we let off the vang or ease the sheet to make sure that we don't do more damage to any sails.
A very demanding crew role is that of the bowman, and aboard Dare to Lead, an adventurous Texan has risen to the challenge.
The bow's one of my favorite places to be. I don't know what really attracts me there. It's just kind of the fun, wild part of the boat where, you know, you can have waves crashing over. And there was the one time where, yeah, I got lifted up, you know, hanging from the tether, trying to hold you down. And it's a little unnerving to begin with, but it's a pretty fun place to be.
With the Clipper race fleet on a fast track to Cape Town, the leaders are keeping up the pressure, and constant sail evolutions are needed to maintain top speed in the battle for positions.
We're about 85 miles towards Cape Town. We've got greenings on our starboard side, about 4 miles away from us. It's quite a close finish, and it's very exciting that we're still neck and neck with greenings. But we're hoping at the last 5-10 miles into Cape Town, our local knowledge will pay off and we'll finally get the line honours.
Throughout the final day before arrival, the crew on Dare to Lead can see that greenings have sailed brilliantly to edge the lead over them.
How are you going otherwise, Andy? Get some sleep.
I'll quit tomorrow.
Yeah, likewise. Oh, we'll have a few together when we get in.
Looking forward to it, buddy, whatever happens.
Yeah, you sailed a good race, mate. We'll see you on the finish.
You too, I know how hard you guys do.
Late into the night, supporters, friends and family who have been avidly following the race online gather at the Victoria and Alfred waterfront harbour in keen anticipation of the finish. The crew of Greenings, with temporary skipper Andy Woodruff, have sailed the race to perfection and crossed the finish line first, taking line honours to give them 2 wins from 2 races.
Again, another amazing journey from start to finish, highs and lows all the way through. I mean, we all got cold, wet, soaking, everything. But again, teams dug deep and kind of really come out fighting on this one. So I'm just delighted to be here in Cape Town in winning positions. Just amazing.
And it's been an incredible effort by the Dare to Lead crew, finishing just 17 minutes behind Greenings to claim 2nd place and arriving to a hero's welcome.
It's been a stressful few days trying to match Greening's pace, and yeah, we're just really happy. We played our joker for this leg, so it's a fantastic result for us, and great to be home in my home city.
Third across the line is Team Garmin, who score a solid 10 points for their efforts. One by one, the crews arrive, and with the delayed PSP Logistics crew completing the fleet, the results are confirmed, with Visit Seattle narrowly beating Liverpool 2018 into 4th place. With all teams now rested, the prize-giving party for the Stormhook race to the Cape of Storms sees all the hard work rewarded. The 3 podium-placed teams receive a huge welcome on stage to collect their pennants. Coming up, in South Africa, the crews take time out to explore the natural beauty of the Cape. But the race across the infamous Southern Ocean proves to be one of the most dramatic and devastating in Clipper race history. The Clipper race teams have completed their 2nd race in this 40,000-mile circumnavigation of the planet, racing from Punta del Este in Uruguay, across the South Atlantic Ocean to Cape Town in South Africa. The Greenings crew triumphed in race 2, narrowly pipping the home team of Dare to Lead. But now all of the teams are enjoying the warmth and the attractions of the famous Victoria and Alfred waterfront. The Clipper race crews travel the world while raising money for the official charity UNICEF, which helps children in danger globally. UNICEF's work continues in South Africa, and crew take the opportunity to visit some of the young people they're helping.
It's pretty harrowing visiting these projects, particularly to go fairly deep into townships like we did. It does make you appreciate how much you have. It also makes you want to just drop everything and actually come and try and do something to help.
I have to say, I feel really humbled and privileged to be here. It actually puts our whinging about our boats into perspective, really, doesn't it? But these guys are just inspirational.
This is the second race that we've had UNICEF as our charity, our global partner, and you've got to feel proud. Well, proud of, to be able to help out, to make a difference.
The imposing and impressive Table Mountain dominates the city and is a must-do for all. The top is accessible by cable car, but typically, some of the more adventurous clipper race crew opt to take the long and hard way up. Taking on the challenge are Charlie from Dare to Lead, Uruguayan Nano from Liverpool 2018, and Simone Tailfoot, who is on Garmin.
I've never climbed a mountain before, so great to say that I've climbed Table Mountain. And why not? We've sailed around the world in the oceans. Climbing up a mountain seems like an ex-likelihood thing to do.
Today was the first day I get out of the harbor, so good for me. Well, last stopover was kind of different because it was my own town, but now I feel the real stopover, This is great after you cross the ocean. Come and drink some beers, have good food, dance, and meet people, share moments is what I've signed for.
Cape Town has been a great stopover, and if all the rest of the stopovers are like Cape Town, I'm going to have the time of my life.
After a long and enjoyable stop on the African continent, it's soon time to focus on the next stage of this epic around-the-world adventure. With the final preparations on race start day, there's excitement and some apprehension at what lies ahead, with the roaring 40s, the huge swells and the cycles of gale-force winds predicted. The third leg is the Del Latitude Rugged Race, which will take the 12 teams across the infamous Southern Ocean, one of the remotest places on the planet.
This is a really big leg, and it's probably been the leg that I've been most anxious about. So feeling okay, but just want to get going now. We've just got to be prepared for and ready for, and as a team, we just need to make sure that we've got plans in place for anything that might hit us.
All the stories, all the reputation of leg 3 is, it's going to be challenging. On the legs so far, it's like when you're in the middle of it all, you just deal with it. You're in the moment so much that you didn't have time to reflect really on the bigger picture of how bad or how exciting or how terrifying it all is. You just deal with the moment and do the best you can.
It's a glorious sunny morning, and with hugs and kisses completed, with music playing and the crowds cheering, the 12 crews slip their lines and head out into Table Bay.
You ready?
The start course forms a triangle in the bay so that spectators can see the progress of the race, but there's only a light breeze which will make the start quite difficult. There's a large spectator fleet out on the water and everything is set.
All right, trim the sails, let's start to make some speed.
Aboard Garmin, skipper Gason Thomas, known as GT, is guiding his crew to prepare for a safe departure. Off the start line, all of the teams are close, but they get away safely as they head for clear air in the opening stages of this short course around the bay. Rounding the last of the set marks, the early leaders are Greenings and Sanya Serenity Coast as they begin to find more breeze away from the wind shadow created by Table Mountain. As the coastline fades into the distance, it's a glorious sunset, and Sanya Serenity Coast has established a slim lead as they head further south towards the Cape of Good Hope. However, just a few hours after dark, there's news of an incident with one yacht that sets off a dramatic chain of events.
Okay. We're dropping the main. You right? Everybody all right down there?
There's an emergency aboard overall race leaders Greenings. The crew have sailed close to the shore where their spinnaker jams up the mast. It's disastrous as the yacht is pushed sideways in the wind while they battle to lower the trapped halyard.
It's completely loose now.
Everyone is on deck trying to deal with the situation. But as they try to jibe away, the yacht hits a rock and is holed.
If somebody could come down the hatch, that'd be useful, thank you.
Water gushes in and the yacht heels over to one side.
Can we have another body, please? It's just as heavy. It's in the water.
Now they're in a precarious position, and skipper Andy Woodruff is left with no option but to call for help.
We have to prepare for it. You grab the most important stuff. Okay, you need for next few days. I need to put some clothes on. Of course, yeah. Okay.
The South African National Sea Rescue Institute are mobilised and arrive quickly, assess the situation, and begin evacuating the crew to a nearby harbour. Everyone is safe without injury as they calmly abandon ship into the rescue boats to be taken to safety. Reports reach the Garmin yacht, where skipper Gayton is saddened by the news, as is everyone across the fleet.
So last night I received a phone call from the office to explain me that Team Greenings have been aground, means like the boat was not floating anymore, they hit the land. I don't know much more about it, but the most important thing is like all the team, the crew and the skipper is safe and they've been evacuated from the vessel. So they're not in the race anymore, which is a very bad news, but yeah, we're all with them and we'll see what's going to happen later.
It's the next morning and it's not good news. Initial inspections indicate that the port side is badly holed and the hull is half submerged in water and sand. And the location is in a nature reserve on the Lower Cape Peninsula, restricting access for salvage equipment. After resting in hastily arranged accommodation, and with everyone safely ashore and uninjured, the crew of Greenings are assessing what happened the previous night.
Physically, I'll be honest, I feel like I've been in a car crash, so my body is really aching. I think a lot of that is from the kind of tension and probably the anxiety and the adrenaline that kind of goes through your body. Emotionally, it's a really sad day for us. Seeing your boat, how we left it last night, was a really sad image that will stay with me forever. How she was last night was pretty devastating. But we've got to, in our true team spirit, pick ourselves up now and just await for what happens next and hopefully get ourselves back on the water and back in the race.
I've put the year aside till next August to do this race. I still want to sail the Southern Ocean, and I think a day or two with us all together we'll get ourselves through this and get the heads back in the right place. And I hope everybody carries on. It'd be really nice if we could stay together as a group, as a crew, and the rest of the Greenings family can come and join in later on. But again, no speculation, just don't know what's going to happen.
After 2 days, the situation has worsened as the rise and fall of the tide washes the yacht further inshore, compounding the damage. And the location on the nature reserve makes access difficult. The crew are finally able to visit the yacht and remove as much as is salvageable of their belongings. But it's highly emotional for everyone. The expectation is that their yacht is beyond repair.
It's always tragic when you see a really lovely boat up on a beach like this. Obviously, the first issue is to get the oil out of her. She's got 1,100 litres of diesel in her, so that will remove the risk of pollution. We then get down to the situation of what do we do with her? Can we refloat her? How do we refloat her? Ultimately, it'll be up to underwriters to make that decision. But I think first, before we can do anything like that, we've got to assess exactly what would have to be done to refloat her. Could it be done? Is it possible? We don't know how big a patch we'd have to make. They've got to dig down to find that out. Now we're in a game reserve and they're pretty sticky about letting us bring equipment. Well, to do the work we need heavy equipment, we need diggers. So I think there's going to be an issue there, which has got to be resolved. And that will have some say on what we can do.
Coming up, the expanse and remoteness of the Southern Ocean becomes a big challenge when a crew member becomes seriously ill. And there is anguish as storms that batter the fleet result in a terrible and tragic loss. Across the Clipper Race fleet, everyone's thoughts are with the Greening's crew, who were forced to abandon their yacht after running aground. But the race has progressed as keenly as ever. The first of the Southern Ocean storms has been an early test of the crews. Aboard Garmin, one circumnavigator is enjoying the experience of the Southern Ocean.
I originally signed up to do leg 1 and then just sort of started thinking more of it, did my training, realised how much more I'd like to do, always do leg 4. So far, the idea of Sydney Hobart is incredible. So committed to 1 to 4, and now I just think it would be such an awesome achievement to say you've circumnavigated. I am terrified of the Pacific Ocean more than anything else in my life. I can say that genuinely. The idea of that amount of time on a boat at a heel, constantly cold and wet, but then to say you've come through that, I think it just makes you braver. Every leg you get braver and you get stronger. And also I have slight fear of missing out. So all the friends I've made, the idea that that's going to continue for another 6 months without me is not possible.
In yet another twist to the race, news arrives that one of the crew aboard hotelplanner.com has received an injury and requires medical treatment, so the crew are diverting to Port Elizabeth in South Africa. Seizing the opportunity, the Clipper race team make arrangements for some of the Greening's crew to join the yacht there and resume their race to Australia. There are mixed emotions as the yacht arrives into port, as there is concern over a fellow crew member who sustained head and arm injuries after falling on deck. But the Greening's crew are delighted at the opportunity to get back to sea. With a steep dock wall and a low tide, the NSRI assist in transferring injured circumnavigator Greg Adams ashore to go to hospital to assess a suspected fractured arm.
Well, it's funny, I was talking to Greg the other day in Cape Town. He's another round-the-worlder, and we both agreed that we're very stubborn and very committed to our ambition to sail around the world. And so I'm just devastated for him that he's been injured. We both agreed the only thing that would get us off a boat was an injury. So I'm really gutted for him, and I wish him a speedy recovery. For me, personally, this is just a dream come true. You know, I thought that leg 3 was over for me, and therefore my circumnavigation was over. So this couldn't, for me, have happened at a better time. And I'm so grateful for hotelplanner.com for allowing us to join their team, for me, personally, to be able to achieve what I set out to do. So I'm absolutely made up.
With a quick change around, hotelplanner.com heads back out to sea to resume racing to Fremantle in Australia, pleased to welcome their new and experienced crew members. By the 11th day of the race, into one of the remotest and loneliest places on the planet, the scoring gate points are claimed by Sanya Serenity Coast, who lead the race, while 2 points are claimed by the PSP Logistics crew, with the final point going to Qingdao. The whole fleet continues this race through storm after storm and squall after squall as the Southern Ocean begins to live up to its reputation. On Garmin, life aboard continues at 45 degrees, but there is a developing medical situation that appears to be worsening by the day with one of the crew. There is a qualified medic on every yacht, and Dr. Nell Wyatt is assessing the situation.
Eric's been unwell now for a few days. He's had some troubles with his tummy, and he's had some tummy pain, and his abdomen has been swelling up. Because of this, he's become very frail, he's not been eating well, he's become very weak. And obviously, from the medical point of view, there's concerns about many things, including him becoming dehydrated or becoming infected. Essentially, I'm practicing medicine without any ECGs, without any blood tests, without any scans, without any imaging. So just using basic medicine, I stethoscope my ears and my hands to assess him. And he's got a considerable abdominal problem, which even in a hospital would be causing concern. So on a racing boat, 2,000 miles from anywhere, we have to assess the risks in more detail to try and keep him safe and to try and help get him better as fast as possible.
Thank you very much, sir. And I call Praxis Telemet, which is an organization about medical advice, and they're helping the Clipper race. The advice was actually to medevac him. So we're looking now for a plan of action. So one of the solutions is going to be an airplane in daylight to drop some more medical supplies. So we can get closer to the land. As soon as we get closer, then we can send a boat or a helicopter for a med evacuation of Eric.
The bow, once they finish it up, we will be all ready to start the procedure.
Urgent medical supplies are to be dropped by the Royal Australian Air Force, which involves extensive organisation and coordination. It's a dramatic moment as all of the planning comes together and the rendezvous is complete. The plane flies low nearby and drops 15 small boxes in the hope that at least some can be recovered by the crew.
It was with great difficulty getting the boxes on board, and when the very first box landed and it was handed to me, and I felt as the medic that it was intensely emotional. I actually started to cry because I thought that perhaps I had an opportunity to save Eric's life, and it was very emotional.
Over the horizon, tragic events are unfolding on this fearsome and unforgiving ocean. News reaches Garmin of a tragic incident aboard the Great Britain yacht. During a headsail change in rough weather, with winds gusting to 40 knots, one of the crew, Simon Spears, aged 60 from the UK, has been washed overboard. Although clipped on with his safety tether, he became separated from the yacht when the tether failed. The team's man overboard training went into immediate effect, and despite the rough conditions, Simon was recovered back on board within 36 minutes. However, sadly, he never regained consciousness. It's a terrible tragedy and is felt throughout the fleet. Aboard Garmin, G2 gathers the crew to tell them what has happened.
Coast Guard called me and they told me he was a man overboard on Charlie Victor 30, Great Britain, GB. Later, they called me again to say they recovered it, but he died. So his name is Simon Spears, 60 years old, one of the Walder. He's a new albatross, okay?
Everyone is shocked and in some way affected by the news at losing a fellow crew member, one of the Clipper race family.
It's absolutely devastating news. I mean, that word doesn't even do it justice. You can't help but think about what his crew are going through on the boat, what his family are going through, what the skipper's going through. Well, everybody with Clipper. It's just, I don't know. It does make you think about what if it happened to you.
With the fleet still over a week from reaching the finish in Fremantle, they all now refocus and race on in tribute to Simon. The crew return to living and working together in their temporary 70-foot home in the middle of this vast ocean. It's now 3 days since the airdrop of medical supplies to Garmin, and a submarine rescue vessel has arrived to collect Eric so they can provide additional medical care while he's taken to hospital. It's extremely difficult to transfer a patient between vessels mid-ocean, but it's something the crew have all trained for and rehearsed as part of the extensive Clipper race training program. Eric is in great pain and is helped onto a solid plastic stretcher and then strapped into position.
Get this one. Remember trainings?
Just getting him up the companionway onto the deck is an ordeal.
Going in?
Yep.
Going in.
Skipper GT directs operations with help from the support vessel crew.
Casualty in. All right, port a little bit. It's good.
Victor 2-2. Tell you, I got a good feeling. It's gonna be all right.
I've got a bad feeling.
No, it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. Think positive.
So it's a successful transfer and skillfully managed by everyone. But it's obviously slowed the team's position in the race, and they have fallen back in the rankings. The leading teams have extended their lead. UNICEF clinches line honours to complete the 25-day crossing of the Southern Ocean. Their first victory since leaving the UK, and what a challenging race to win.
The last 40 hours has been very, very intense. We chose to go in stealth mode and try and avoid the high pressure that everyone got stuck into. And we managed to sneak through without stopping. But unfortunately, we were partnered with GB. And GB, you know, rose to the challenge, and really, it was a hard 48 hours. Looking over our shoulder constantly in the last 48 hours, just trying to stay ahead. So it was a very hard-fought race, very hard-fought with the ocean. And it's a great to be here, great relief.
Astonishingly, in what proves to be a close finish, it's the crew of Great Britain who clinched second place, showing incredible teamwork and spirit. They find the courage to keep racing, despite their tragic loss, which brought them closer together, transforming their grief into determination and propelling the team 8 places in the final 4 days of the race. Third across the line is the crew of PSP Logistics, completing their second straight podium finish. Aboard Garmin, a 10th place position is better than expected after dealing with Eric's situation aboard, and there's relief at finishing such a long and testing race. And aboard hotelplanner.com, the 6th form of Greening's crew complete their Southern Ocean leg.
If I think back to 3 weeks ago and where we were, I mean, my dreams were shattered and I was in bits, frankly. So to have been able to sail to Fremantle with such a brilliant team in such good spirits just feels amazing. So I'm delighted to be here.
So, 3 races completed, and with the extra points awarded for the scoring gate and the Elliott-Brown Ocean Sprint, it's the crew of Qingdao that tops the overall leaderboard, followed by Dare to Lead and Great Britain, who are third. After this emotional and moving ceremony, the crews are ready to celebrate in Simon's honour with the prize giving for race 3. Remarkably, hotelplanner.com was fastest in the Elliott-Brown Ocean Sprint, taking 3 points, while third place PSP Logistics collect pennants for another podium. Naturally, there are huge cheers after the determination of the Great Britain crew to score their first podium finish. And the crew of UNICEF are delighted with their first victory and 12 valuable points towards the overall Clipper Race title. Back in Cape Town, and after much consultation, the stricken Greening's yacht is deemed beyond repair, so no effort is spared in totally removing it, leaving the area clean and free of all traces. Having arrived safely ashore, Eric has undergone a successful operation and is expected to rejoin the crew later in the race. Next time, it's the All-Australia leg with 3 testing races. An Olympic gold medalist joins for a new kind of challenge. There's the iconic Sydney-Hobart yacht race, a dream opportunity for the Clipper Race crews. But Mother Nature has a shock in store for one team.